The Invitation by Orion Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed for fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty every day. And if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes! It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me to know how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. Friends, my feet hurt. Yesterday, Community Unitarian Universalist Church, you all, along with Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation, ordained me to Unitarian Universalist ministry. I am now Reverend CUUC Zerfoss. Thank you. The ceremony yesterday was filled with moving words, beautiful music. Thank you to the members of our choir who joined in leading the music. There were several clergy who participated and several more who gathered to witness and affirm these two congregations ordaining me. There was intricate sacred ritual and many tears were shed. And for me, there was a lot of standing in dress shoes, 4 hours, and my feet hurt. But I'll tell you a secret. My feet hurt long before yesterday. Actually, my feet have hurt in one way or another for the past 23 years. That's how long I've been moving toward ordained ministry, following this call to preach the word of truth in freedom, to minister to joys and sorrows alike, to work for justice and peace, to serve and to love as a minister. My journey to get to today has been long and winding, with several rough spots, many calm, peaceful sections. At times, a sense of urgency, and at other times, a leisurely, I don't know if I'm really ready for that yet pace. The best way to describe my journey is moving along a river. And I'd like to share some of my call journey with you this morning. When I was 18 years old and preparing to graduate from high school, my minister at the time, Reverend Harold Ewell, called me into his office one day and asked me if I had ever considered going into the ministry. I knew enough, even at 18, not to laugh at him. But I didn't hesitate to tell him that I already knew what I was going to do. I was going to get my psychology degree and eventually become a psychologist. I believed I already knew the course of the river my life would take. That was the path I could envision before me at that moment in time. Little did I know that conversation with Pastor Ewell, he planted a seed, and my river would flow down a different channel that I couldn't yet perceive. When I went off to college, my campus ministers watered and nourished that seed. They listened and asked me questions, prayed with and for me. They fielded my endless questions and gently, pastorally listened when I ranted or cried, or when I was simply obstinate and needed someone to witness that. And then I came out. A process that began in my early childhood, but which was put on hold because of homophobia and learned self-loathing. For 2 years, I wrestled with not only reconciling these two seemingly opposing identities. I was Christian and I was lesbian, but also wrestling with my calling to ministry and the church's discriminatory policies at that time. The church would change a decade later. Now I pause here in my own story to ask you, what do you do when you hit a wall? When the rocks in the river get in the way and you crash into them and get hurt? Do you eddy out and take a break, maybe regroup, check your vessel for damage? Maybe you figure out how to maneuver around the rocks and through the rapids. You take care of your basic needs, rely on your compass, and then press on. Or maybe you choose to give up altogether. In my early 20s, I came to what felt like a dam in the river, and everything that was flowing before that suddenly grinded to a halt, crashing into this wall I found in front of me in the river. Water continued to seep slowly out from the bottom, but I was afraid I'd drown trying to follow that river. So I decided to leave the water. I pulled my vessel from the water and cried on shore. At 22, I made the decision to abandon, at least that's what it felt like at the time, to abandon my call to ministry and go another direction. That's what I thought exiting the river meant. It was one of the most painful decisions of my young life. It was mere months before I graduated, and I didn't know what I'd do or where I'd go. I only knew that I could not pursue my seminary education and ordained ministry at that time. So I wandered in the forest. It took me several years until I got back to that same river, the river of called ministry. And when I found it again, it was quite different, because I was in a completely different section of it, a different tributary, and one that felt quite right. After immersing myself in that water, I knew for certain it was the right path for me. As it turns out, I hadn't fully abandoned the river. I merely portaged around for more than a decade. And all that time in the forest, I wondered if I was still being called and if I had done the right thing in leaving the river. I joined the Lutheran Volunteer Corps after college and worked at a homeless shelter in Tacoma. I would end up spending 3 years there before moving on to other nonprofit positions throughout Puget Sound. I ultimately spent years working with folks on the street, low-income women looking for employment, domestic violence survivors, and people struggling with addiction and mental illness. I was blessed to meet so many beautiful, loving, brilliant, and deeply spiritual people during this time. Folks who were far more educated than I, now struggling to find food as their drug addiction had devastated their livelihoods. Married people who were so devoted to their spouse and their children that they endured horrific abuse for years out of love for others. Strong, determined women defying the odds and working harder than anyone I'd ever known. And mind you, I come from a family of farmers. These women worked so hard to establish themselves in the workplace and provide for their families. And all of the lessons I learned during these years of service, all of the people who taught me, all of the love I received, all of the love I imparted, it was some of the best ministry. Those skills I learned earlier navigating that one section of difficult water helped prepare me for the drops and rapids in this new section of the river. And like I said, eventually I found my way back to called ministry. Touching that water again, I knew it was the right path for me. And after several years of study and ministerial work, I stand here on my tired, hurting feet, knowing that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It's called a calling for a reason. I love what Bobby shared with the kids about calling and journey. Some folks feel called by a divine being, by God, by the universe, this tug from a force beyond our human understanding. Some people know deep in their gut that something is right for them, and still others trust in fate or in coincidence. Whatever propels you forward into the water that brings out your best self, makes you the most alive, and like you're right where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, trust that. Do that. Go that way. Follow that river. That's answering your call. Mine happens to be ministry. Yours may be teaching, parenting, engineering, serving, coordinating, managing, creating, researching, exploring, discovering, fixing, preparing, feeding, stewarding. Frederick Buechner said, "Your vocation in life is where your greatest joy meets the world's greatest need." And in the Japanese concept of ikigai, there are 4 intersections that converge to reveal your reason for being. That which you love, that which you are good at, that which the world needs, and that for which you can be paid. I want to point out that getting paid does not necessarily mean financial compensation, although that can be a piece of it. It also refers to that which feeds and sustains you. The intersection of these four is your ikigai. Where do you find yourself in this diagram? Are you in the center? Have you ever been in the center and are now no longer there? What might change for you so you can locate yourself right there in the center? And if you are there, what sustains you and helps you be fully present? Now that I'm an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister, the river doesn't suddenly end. It keeps flowing, and I continue following my calling. And I have to do many of the same things that I've been doing for years. Check in to see if I'm still headed in the right direction for me. Ensure that I'm well equipped and my vessel is maintained. I have to learn new skills for the more technical sections of the river that I've never seen before. I check my compass regularly to stay on track and regroup, reassess, and make the necessary changes if I feel lost or get confused. We all need to do this throughout our lives. Check in with ourselves, stop, breathe, and listen. At times, we all need to rest our weary feet. I can tell you for me that there have been days when I felt deep within that I knew this was what I was called to do with my life. There were also times I questioned this. In fact, for years I went back and forth, sometimes second-guessing myself. Who am I to be a minister, to be a teacher, to be a leader? And there have been days, weeks, months, when I confidently knew deep in my soul that I am called to ministry and this is the right path for me. I have found my ikigai. Have you had this experience? Have you felt called to a vocation or to a profession, maybe a field of study or a specific role? Have you felt called to become a parent, to move to a particular location, to lean into a feeling or sensation? What does that call feel like to you? And how does it manifest? I know for me early on, I wanted to hear the actual voice of God speaking to me. I wanted to see a burning bush and hear, touch, taste, smell, feel the voice telling me that I had gotten it right. I wanted definitive proof, divine confirmation, if you will, that took away any doubt that this was the right direction for me and that I wasn't simply following something I wanted, that it wasn't my ego leading. Deep down underneath all of that, I wanted assurance that I could actually speak with and receive directly from the sacred, the source of all life. And I hemmed and hawed for years because I figured that I needed to know for sure, 100% for certain, no more questions, no more doubt. Because what if I was wrong? Hindsight gives the perspective to recognize all of the side paths I took, each stop I made to question and to doubt. All of the people I met along the journey have helped me truly answer my call. Firmly, committedly, with integrity, deep in my faith, and with the appropriate amount of certainty and uncertainty, with a healthy helping of confidence and moments of hesitation. I know I'm right where I'm supposed to be now. And after 23 years of discernment, hard work, and tears, much joy. My feet still hurt. What I want to leave you with today is the question of where is your ikigai? And I know that's a fun word to say as an English speaker. Are you where you're supposed to be? Remember that only you can know the answer to that. Others can affirm it, but only you know your own truth. If you're not there yet, are you moving in that direction? And if not, what's in your way? How do you clear the path? How do you navigate toward that goal, moving with the water, flowing where you're meant to be? And for those of you who know you're on the right path, will you keep going? When you find the path that makes you feel like everything is aligned, that this is so right, you cannot not do it. When you stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes, go that way. I said yes several times in the past 23 years, and here I am today. Your call, that nudge, that nagging feeling inside, the urge to move, the pull to change, however your calling manifests, go that way. And for those of us who walk, your feet may hurt. For those who roll, your arms might get tired. You may stumble on the obstacles in your path. But truly, I tell you, friends, the more you understand and lean into your purpose for being alive, when you flow with the river and trust your inner guide, you will find how beautiful it is to reside in ikigai. Will you go? Amen, and blessed be.
Because your faith, like ours, is one of action, we charge you to engage. Because your own freedom and liberation is bound up in that of the greater community, we charge you to engage. Because there is much to learn by walking with the people of our city, we charge you to engage. Because to ensure that all life is valued, we must take a stand for those lives that are dismissed and marginalized today. We charge you to engage. Because Black lives do matter. We charge you to engage. Because this is a city of immigrants. We charge you to engage. Because you are blessed with many resources. We charge Not yet. You to engage. Not yet.
They got it down.
Yeah, I know. This building, your talents, your money, your love, we do engage. Because this beautiful world is aching, and we know you do not wish to stand silently on the sidelines. We charge you to engage. May you engage in the work of building beloved community and sustainability with love. May you engage in accountable relationships with those most impacted by the injustices you seek to address. May you engage with humility, passion, love, and determination. May you make a difference in our wider community. And as in the words of the prophet Jeremiah, may you seek the welfare of the city, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. And the gift portion is Denise made a second stole that I'm going to present you with right now. There you go. Congratulations. Thank you.
I have been asking all of you, through your parents too, what you like about Miss Crystal, about Reverend Crystal, and what makes her a good minister. And we got a bunch of words together, and we wanted to put them together in a way that would become a gift for Reverend Crystal. So this is what we made. It's called a word cloud. I took the words that you gave to your parents and they gave to me, and it describes what she's like. What are some words that you see in here? Fun, joyful, kind, awesome, smiles.
I see awesome too.
You see awesome too? See, some words are bigger than others because a lot of people mentioned them. And then there's a lot of other little words in there too. So
Let me take a look at the tiny.
you want to take a look at the tiny words too. And I'll share this with everyone else too. But who do you think we should give this to right now?
Me.
To you. Who is this describing? Oh, right here. There she is. I thought this would make a nice gift for her to keep, and all of your thoughts about what makes her a good minister. So, with love from all of the kids. You did. I see some of you recognize the words that you gave in here. And we have more time, we have more to learn about Crystal's journey and about your journey. So we're going to go to our classes now. If everyone could please make our arches and sing our children out.
And now for the extinguishing of the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will carry in our hearts until we meet again.
Blessed is this day. Blessed is this time to be together with one another. Blessed is this community of seekers, of lovers, and of committers to peace. Of those who are committed to peace. Thankful for the joy and the love in this room. May we go in peace, making love manifest in all we do. Amen.